I am very proud and honored to actually bring a young Iranian voice to our program today, and his name is Younes. Okay, that's a great name, Younes Sadaghiani. I hope I pronounced that correctly, and he's going to correct me. He's a political broadcaster, investigative journalist, analyst with over 13 years of experience in media. He was born in Iran, but now resides in the UK. A good combo for the accent. An outspoken critic of the Islamic Republic. Younes, welcome to the show. Thanks so much for being with us.
Thanks for having me, Shai. It's a pleasure.
How do you pronounce your last name correctly? Please help me.
Sadaghiani.
Sadaghiani.
Yeah.
Sadaghiani.
Well, in Farsi, it's actually Sadaghiani, but we don't have the sound in English, so the H is silent, basically. So Sadaghiani.
No, but say it in the Persian way.
Younes Sadaghiani.
Sadaghiani. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
You know, I got to tell you something. We here at my household, one of our favorite shows is Tehran. Have you ever watched the show Tehran?
Of course. I actually
my God.
Actors from it, actually. I met them in Israel.
We're crazy about this show. It's like a thing. It's one of the most exciting, series about trying to undermine that regime. So I'm sure you watched it because in part, isn't that what your life is about? Trying to break down that regime. Our guest, we'll talk about that in a second. Our guest just now, Dr. Kedar, he said that it could very well be that if the current mullah regime goes away, that the country might be broken up into many sub-countries. And we put up this map here where you saw all the different folks like Turkmen or Kurd, 10% of the country's Kurd, or Baluchi, or Pashtun even a little bit, and Persian, Azeri. So we see that this country has a lot of different nationalities that could break up into small sub-states instead of one Iran. So tell me a little bit about what it's been like for you to fight against the regime, and tell me what it's like in the last few weeks. Seeing that people are being murdered in the streets.
Iranian officials now admit the death toll from protests since late December now stands at more than 5,000. That number is expected to rise.
And you know what pisses me off? That so many people just don't care. They just don't care. It's just, if one Palestinian journalist, supposed journalist who's actually a jihadi, is killed, they make a big deal. But the fact that 20,000 people are being murdered in the streets, people don't care. Tell me about the last few weeks, how you've been feeling, and how this fight has been going. And are you excited for the coming moments?
Wow, so many questions. So first off, just to answer your last question, yes, it's amazing how morally bankrupt these people are, because they've been screaming about Palestine and how Israel is a genocidal state and how Palestine is being occupied. But in reality, it's Iran that has been occupied by the Islamic Republic for the last 47 years. That's where the real apartheid is. That's where there's an apartheid for Christians, an apartheid for Jews, it's an apartheid for women. But you don't have any of these left-wing, woke mind virus Islamist students coming and standing with the people of Iran. You know what the ironic thing is the people within Iran that are rising up. They are protesting. So it basically ticks all the progressive boxes. You have a bunch of people that are standing up against the tyrant. They're being shot in the street. They're being oppressed. They're living under an apartheid state. They don't have freedom of speech, freedom of expression. So where are all the liberals? I thought this is what the progressive and the liberals were all about. But obviously, that's not what they're all about. They just have a derangement towards Israel. They have a derangement towards the Palestinian cause. And they don't realize that the reason why Palestinians are oppressed is because of Hamas. The reason why Iranians are oppressed is because of the Islamic Republic. So, and also we need international support. So now going to your other question, where you were speaking about, Iran being divided into many different subsects. I really hope that doesn't happen, because if that happens, it will be a bloodbath. It's going to be a similar situation to what happened in Iraq and Syria. And we don't want that. We don't want a vacuum. We don't want a failed state. We want to keep Iran in one part, okay? Every single country in the world has different sects in it, right? Like, for example, in Israel, you have the Ashkenazis, you have the Mizrahis, you have the Beit Israel, so on and so forth, right?
Yeah, but that's one ethnicity. We have one ethnicity. We have other ethnicities. For example, the Druze, or the Arabs. Within the Arabs, there's even a little bit of different ethnicities. For
Exactly.
example,
So
Bedouins and stuff like that. Yeah.
yeah, so imagine Israel getting divided into 5 parts. Like the Jews have their own land, the Ashkenazis have their own. But we don't want that to happen. Even in the United Kingdom, for example, we have English, we have Welsh, we have Scottish, we have Irish. But that's not how it should work. Because honestly, if that happens, honestly, it will be a disaster for the Middle East. I think actually, as ironic as that sounds, it's better for the Islamic Republic to stay in power than to have Iran divided into 4, 5, or 6 subsects.
I'm very happy that you said this. Not that I know that I agree with you. I don't know that, but it was an interesting thing. I wanted to know that. I wanted to know, does an Iranian person want to see that country remain united, or is it more important to throw off that regime? You're saying stay united is more important.
Look, I think that if the country is divided into 5 or 6 subparts, they will be worse. Why? Because from the east, we might have ISIS. Sorry, from the west, we might have ISIS. From the east, we might have Taliban, that govern over Afghanistan, to come in. Then we might have other groups, such as extremist groups rising up within IRGC members. So it's going to be a bloodbath, and you're going to have all these subsects killing each other. So it's very important to stay united. That's why I'm not an MEK or a Mujahideen supporter, because Mujahideen are MEK, because the Mujahideen are actually left-wing communists that actually collaborated with the Islamic Republic back in 1979 to cause a revolution. Then they were outcasted. Then they collaborated with Saddam Hussein to attack Iran in the 1980s. So the Mujahideen, or the MEK, they have a very, very low sort of approval rating amongst Iranians, because they betrayed Iranians not once, but twice. And in order for Iran to be a successful democracy, we need to be a secular democracy in which religion or church is separate from the state, right? We can have, and even if we're going to have, for cultural purposes, if we're going to have a religion for cultural purposes, it should be Zoroastrian, not Islam, because Iranians or Persians are originally Zoroastrian, a religion that goes back, I think, 7,000 years. It's the religion of Cyrus the Great. So we don't want Iran divided. So I think the best course of action is for Iranians to stay united, to have a transitional government, most likely led by Shahzadeh Reza Pahlavi. And then maybe in 2 or 3 years' time, once the dust settles, then we can have a referendum to see what the people want, whether they want a republic, whether they want a monarchy, whether maybe some people want to divide, but we can't have it divided as soon as the Islamic Republic of Iran falls.
It's so tricky here in the Middle East. It's so tricky. It's like you have a regime, like the Syrian Assad regime. It's evil. Yeah. It's corrupt. It's throwing tens of thousands of people into torture prisons. It's selling Captagon. It's using the whole territory as a narco-terrorist state. It's just like it's supporting Hamas. It's channeling Iran, the Mullah regime of Iran. And then you get rid of it. Next thing you know, you got this Ashara Jolani, and he's killing Kurds, and he's killing Alawites, and he's killing the Druze, and he's a jihadi. And it's just like you can't we have a region that's not so healthy. That's why I always say, from my perspective, just talking about the way I see the world and what my show is about here, I'd like to see a bigger Israel. I tell people, but people don't believe me because of the liberal lies out there, the progressive lies. I say to people all the time, a bigger Israel means more rights for more people. Whatever's under Israel's dominion will have more rights for more people. But it's sad to hear this.
Just to mention something, look.
Go ahead.
The Middle East used to be a relatively peaceful place up until 1979. There was no major wars. I mean, Israel was always in war with Arab states, but like your best friend in the region was the Shah. There was no major wars in the Middle East up until 1979. Because why? Because the Shah was the police station of the Middle East. Also, under the Shah rule, we used to have Christians living in Iran, Jews living in Iran. It was a secular state. So once Iran fell, the whole Middle East fell. Right. You can see, like literally after 1979, you could see extremism brewing in the Middle East. We have IRGC, then we had Taliban, then we had ISIS, Al-Qaeda, all these groups. So I think If Iran is freed, it will be a major boost in stabilizing the Middle East.
That's a very
Okay.
interesting point. Very interesting point. And I just want to make sure everybody knows who we're talking with. We're talking with Younes Sadaghiani, who, by the way, you could find you. How do people reach out to you and connect with you? You're strong on social media.
Younes Sadaghiani, if you just put my name on screen, Younes Sadaghiani or Younes Rocks on Instagram, X, YouTube. I'm on all the platforms.
Very good. Okay, my producer will put that up in just a minute. You, by the way, live also in a Muslim state right now, don't you? You live in that dangerous Muslim country called England and London, right? And it's got to. Oh, you know what? Before I get to that, actually, I want to get to that, but you know what? I actually wanted to keep going, actually, with something that you're saying, and then we'll get back to that. A lot of people in the comments are writing stuff about King Reza Pahlavi, right?
Yes.
A lot of people are writing about that. 1 second. Here, some more people are writing. All kinds of Iranian folks are writing that they want to be united. Here's another one.
Exactly.
Okay, they want a king.
Yeah.
Here's another one. By the way, great statement by him. I wish I had the statement here right now, but I loved his statement. He's like, yeah, we helped the Jews 25 centuries ago rebuild their temple. I was like, I don't know why. I just loved that. I just thought that was so great. That he's like, yeah, 25 centuries ago, we helped the Jews build their second temple. I mean, I wish more people would talk about it that way. But so tell me a little bit about Pahlavi, if you respect him, if you think that, and what about people who feel like he's an outsider? Like, how do we relate to this thing? Is this a figure who can unite Iran?
Reza Pahlavi is the son of the last king. He's a very well-known figure within the Iranian community, and I also support him. He himself has said that he's not actually looking for power. He wants to help Iranian people get rid of the Islamic Republic. So I think what will happen is that he will lead the transitional government, in which, once the Islamic Republic of Iran falls, we need this window of 1 or 2 years or 3 years for the dust to settle. And Shahzada Reza Pahlavi, or Prince Pahlavi, soon to be king, has come out and said, look, I want to help Iranian people to remain united so we don't get divided by groups such as MEK, or Mujahideen as we call it, so we can have a smooth transition. Because as I said, if it's not a smooth transition, and if we get divided into many parts, then it could be a bloodbath, and it could actually end up being worse. Because from the west, you might have Mujahideen, from the east, you might have Taliban, then from within, you might have IRGC members still in there, so you don't want that to happen. Then, after 2 or 3 years' time, then we can have a referendum to see what kind of a government the people actually want, whether it's a republic, whether it's a monarchy, whether it's a parliamentary system, or maybe it's a mix of all three. Maybe we can have a monarch, but the monarch is not governing, and the governing is led by the parliament, like similar to the UK government, where we have King Charles, but then we also have Prime Minister Keir Starmer, for example, right? All we want to, so this is all the small print. I think the most important thing right now is to be united under one leadership. And because Shahzada Reza Pahlavi is the son of the previous king, he's the most well-known figure. He's the person that Iranians know.
And do they trust him? They like him?
Yes, I think they trust him, yeah. He comes from a good family. He's a very well-educated guy. Nice guy. I would say he is a bit maybe too nice for the Ayatollahs. Maybe you need a bit of more teeth. But at this moment in time, we don't have anyone else.
Right.
So it's important, because we don't have anyone else, it's important that we unite around him at this moment in time, just so we can get rid of the Islamic Republic. Then afterwards, people can decide whether they want Shahzada Reza Pahlavi or whether they want someone else.
So here's an irony. You're a pro-Iran person against the regime, right?
Right.
And most Iranians that you meet, they love their country. I have found that Iranian people in general, I would call them, if that's the right word, they're very patriotic. They love that land. They love that country. They love their culture. There's something about Iran that Iranian people feel. It's not like a country they're like, oh, forget it, it's garbage. They love it. They love it inside. And they feel, and you could see it also in that show Tehran, that they'll do a lot to get rid of this regime, to take their country back.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that. Now you're living in the UK. The UK, and to be pro-Iranian, people against the regime, you're oftentimes in the camp of being pro-Israel, because you see Israel as a liberator, as a country that is a good force in this region, a more democratic, I'm not going to say fully democratic, but a more democratic element in this region, a more pro-value of people country, and it's an anti-jihad country. But you're not living in Iran so that you could have freedom. You're living in the UK, but the UK is this progressive left, anti-Israel, pro-Palestine, essentially pro-jihad, although they don't admit it, but they're a pro-jihad entity. And so you, being an ethnic person, an Iranian person, a dark person, whatever it is, right? You're out there saying, no, and you hinted to this beforehand, like I'm against the stuff that you guys support. Where are you guys when my people are being murdered in the streets? Why are you guys blaming Israel all the time? One of the only good forces in the region to help our people get liberation. So tell me a little bit of what it's like to be a young pro-Iranian activist in the UK, which is really a subtly pro-jihad place.
Actually, one of the first ever videos I ever released was about 2 years ago. I would say the first video that went viral. It went super viral. It was shared on social media by many people, about like tens of millions of views. And it was exactly about this. It was a bunch of Islamists in the street of London screaming Sharia for UK. And I done a reaction to that video. I was like, why did you leave Afghanistan? Why did you leave Taliban? Why did you leave Sudan to come to the UK to shout Sharia for UK? Like go back. There's 53 Muslim states. If you want to go and live under Sharia law, go there. Why do you want to bring your poison to the West, right? And that video, struck a nerve and it went viral. But I think the deeper issue here is that because I was born in Iran and because I lived under the Islamic Republic, I know what Sharia law, or let's say mixing religion and politics, especially Islam, does to a society. Religion and politics should be separate, especially Islam. And look, the difference between Islam and Christianity and Judaism is that Islam is a very militant religion. It's here to govern, it's here to dominate. It's not here to take part, it's here to take over. So that makes it dangerous. But also, Islam hasn't gone through its own age of Renaissance and Enlightenment. Christianity and Judaism have. Islam is going through its reform now. And you can see it in Saudi Arabia. Mohammed bin Salman came out and said, we're not going to educate the Quran to our students anymore. Can you imagine the leader of Saudi saying, don't teach the Quran in schools anymore? Then UAE came out and said, we're not going to send our students to United Kingdom anymore because they're at the risk of being radicalized in UK universities. That
was the joke of this week, right? Was that this week or last week? It was like the funniest thing. It's like, the UAE is like, we can't be sending our students to the UK. They're gonna come out like jihadi terrorists. So we gotta, I don't know, send them somewhere else because the UK is totally taking over. And that's what I'm asking you. I'm asking you, like, what's it like?
Okay, let me explain. So. It leaves because look, we have virtue signaling leaders, we have virtue signaling people that don't understand Islam. They haven't lived under oppression. They haven't lived under Islamic Republic. So they think, oh my God, we're just being tolerant and we're being so nice. And let's accept everyone. And every ideology is equal. And, we don't want to be Islamophobic and we don't want to be racist. So they're infected by the woke mind virus. And, they have certain people that lie to them. And they're so naive and stupid that they believe these lies to the point they're being infiltrated and taken over from within.
Right.
So I think the only antidote to that is actually free speech, free thinking, free conversations, not being cancelled and thrown in jail because of a Facebook post like Keir Starmer. 12,000 people have been arrested in the UK for. And also, look, it's always the unholy marriage.
So in Iran, people are being shot in the streets for their anti-regime stance, and in the UK, people are being arrested for whatever their
for calling it out. For calling it out, basically. So it's insane. But it's always the unholy marriage of Islamism and Marxism, aka wokeism. And that's also what led to the revolution in 1979. It was the unholy marriage of Marxists and Islamists. And I think the Islamists always use the naivety of the liberals, so-called liberals, because I don't even call these people liberals. They're like authoritarian left-wingers. They're mentally ill, if you want to know the truth. Like, that's what I think of them, because they think that somehow criticizing Islam or criticizing any foreign ideology is racist, or it's Islamophobic, or it's xenophobic, or it's sexist. And they're caught in this bubble that there are not three thinkers. They can't think freely without putting a label on people. So I think the only antidote to that is to speak up against it. I know it's going to be hard. And hopefully Keir Starmer is going to be out of office, because he's done a terrible job. Sadiq Khan, the mayor of London, which is a Muslim Pakistani guy, he's also done a terrible job. I think London was the best city in the world 10 years ago. And ever since he took over, it's a bit like what Mamdani is going to do to New York City. So these people, but then the lived experience, I think the silent majority is actually on our side. You might not think it, but the silent majority, the people in London are sick and tired of Labour. They're sick and tired of Sadiq Khan, country as a whole. So I think the UK is going to have a swing to the right very soon.
Okay, last question I want to ask you. What do you think the numbers are in the streets of Iran? Like, and a corollary to that, young people in Iran right now, are they feeling hopeful? Are they feeling disappointed? Are they feeling, are their friends dead? I heard also that the IRGC and whoever was shooting, the regime police that was shooting at the protesters, were aiming for eyes specifically. A lot of people lost their eyes. I've heard that before, about this targeting of the eyes. I've heard about this. It's like something about that. What is the mood, and are you able to contact anybody normally over there?
So look, the mood is they're quite disappointed, because look, we were promised by Israel and we were promised by America that if you rise up, we will help you. And so far there has been no help. Maybe there is a military strategy behind it. Maybe the Americans are gathering their troops and they're taking them all to the Middle East so they can hit and finish the job immediately. And they don't want a prolonged war. They don't want another Iraq. They don't want another Afghanistan. So they want to do strategic and clean. Because also what people don't know is that Trump only has 28 days to finish the war. After 28 days, he has to go to Congress and ask for permission. And most likely he will not get permission, because the Democrats, they worship terrorists in America. So he needs to be very strategic. But so far, up to 50,000 people could have died. We don't know the exact figures, but we know it's anywhere between 20,000 to 50,000.
Wow.
Okay? That's a lot of people. That is a lot of people, right? So the Islamic Republic is...
I just, when I hear you say that, and I just put myself, on the ground, I just say to myself, like, it's just disgusting to me how people are being murdered in the streets, and you're right, the propagandist progressive left, and a colleague of yours, Alika Laban, made a great post where she explained that we're all trapped inside the media's perception that they're giving us, but they're doing that because they're allied with the jihadis, and so the bad guys get a pass in the media. And the good people that just want freedoms and opportunities and real liberalism are being mowed down in the streets. Nobody hears their cries. You turn off, no amount of Starlink is helping that out. You turn off the internet, and the whole world's like, whatever, this is fine. And there's barely, so few things.
Yeah, so the Islamic Republic is the only state that gets or keeps their own civilians hostage. Let's repeat that one more time. The Islamic Republic is holding its own civilians hostage so America and Israel don't attack. Like, have you ever heard of something like that? Imagine a state holding its own civilians hostage just so they stop foreign intervention. Like, I've never ever heard of that. Like, honestly, it's a bit like saying like Israel holds all Jewish people hostage just so they don't get attacked. But you know what I mean?
And do you think that maybe in the absence of some kind of great plan, I mean, first thing, warships are gathering here in the Middle East.
Right.
There are literally warships gathering here. But in the absence of that, do you think that maybe, and I have commenters saying, no, what are you guys talking about? Trump is beholden to the Qataris, beholden to the Saudis. He's, his friend is Jolani Shara. His friend is Erdogan. They don't want to see America attack Iran. You guys are dreaming.
Look, there's a few. I actually spoke about this extensively on an X live with Visegrad, and I explained why that is a wrong stance to have. But let me just answer your full question in its entirety.
Go ahead.
So, in the Middle East, one of the reasons why the UAE developed so fast was because actually of the revolution in 1979. Why? Because, the plan for Dubai was supposed to be in Kish Island, south of Iran, in the Persian Gulf during the Shah time. But because when the revolution happened, Iran went under sanctions, they couldn't build anymore in Iran. So what? They moved it across the Gulf to Dubai, right? So all these improvements you see in the Middle East, especially in the Gulf states, UAE, Qatar, Saudi, all of that was supposed to happen in Iran. So actually, the Arab states and the Gulf states benefited highly from the Islamic Republic or the revolution, right? Because Iran was under sanctions, they couldn't do anything. So basically, all the improvements you see in the Gulf states was supposed to happen in Iran. It didn't happen. So they stood and they benefited, right? Also, Iran being under sanctions means that Saudi kind of has a monopoly on oil. They can, sell their oil for a higher price, because when Iran comes into the market, there's so much oil and gas coming into the market that's going to break their monopoly, which means they're not going to have as much leverage in the international stage. Also, it's going to be bad for countries like Russia, because Iran has the second biggest gas field in the world. So that also breaks the Russian monopoly over gas. It's going to be bad for China, because China buys oil from Iran dead cheap, like almost free, like 30% of the price, right? But all of that being said, so yeah, there's a lot of countries standing to lose. But that being said, the Islamic Republic is the biggest state sponsor of terrorism, and they're making the whole Middle East unstable, to the point they have actually threatened, we're going to hit Dubai, we're going to hit this Arab state if you attack us. So now even people like Mohammed bin Salman have realized that it's actually in the benefit of the whole Middle East, because now we're trying to make Middle East a new Europe. Everyone's leaving London to go and live in Dubai. But Dubai and all these other states cannot reach the level they're meant to reach if there is a destabilizing force such as the Islamic Republic. So I believe that a rising tide raises all ships, right? And in order for us to make the Middle East the new Europe, we need a free Iran, we need a free Persia. If we're going to have a strong Middle East, we're going to need a free Persia. Also, Islamic Republic is the one sponsoring Hamas, sponsoring Hezbollah, sponsoring Houthis.
Yes.
So it's in the interest of Israel to get rid. Otherwise, you're going to have a war every 2 years.
That's for sure. See, for us, it's easy. For us, it's easy. For you, it's not as easy, because you even said that you're concerned about it, breaking up into Balkanization, into Yugoslavia type thing. So you have other considerations. For us, it's easy. This is a horrible enemy of ours. This is behind all of our enemies, behind a noose of Hezbollah, Hamas, Houthis. Iranian nuclear threats. So for us, it's an easy one. These are bad guys. Also, we'd love to see an Iran that is pro-Israel, a Shah's Iran. We'd love to see that. We'd love to see cooperation. We'd love to see, technology, medicine, travel, and a union here in the Middle East. So for us, it's an easy one.
Yeah.
I would love to see.
Also, to your other question, you said, that Iran dividing up. Look at what is happening in Syria with Jolani, killing of the Kurds. That's why we don't want Iran to be divided, because one of these divisions could end up in the hands of someone similar to Jolani, like the MEK, and they might start massacring the Jews, as is happening now in Syria, some parts of Iraq. We don't want that to happen. We don't want we don't want Iran to be divided into 5 or 6 different states, some of it ran by terrorists. So what we need is strategic strikes by Israel, by America, taking out IRGC members, taking out nuclear sites, taking out missiles. And I think we don't even need boots on the ground, because I think Iranians are the boots on the ground.
Right.
And also we need to unite against a common leader chosen by the people, which seems to be at this moment in time, Shah Reza Pahlavi. unite around him, have this transition smoothly without much disruption, and then maybe in 2 or 3 years' time, we can have a referendum to see whether people even want him or whether they want a republic or whatever they want. But we don't want
Makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. And I would love for Israel to be, just from my point of view, from my perspective, I just want to see Israel being a liberation nation, a nation that helps good energies rise up. And it's just, you said, it doesn't need boots on the ground. It needs just to get rid of a few guys with guns, a few things that are suppressing the people. And yes, people sometimes need help from the outside, and that's what Iranian people are saying. Like, we need help from the outside. We can't do this. We can't defeat them. You know, they're killing us en masse. They're massacring us in the streets. And I wish that the world would hear their cry. I frankly wish that Israel would hear their cry. To be honest with you, I have my own critique about my own government, and I say, well, you know, you're really not listening. You know, you've been complaining about Iran for a long time. Now the people of Iran are begging you to step in, and you partially stepped in. Take it all the way. You've given them confidence to get out in the streets. They've sacrificed. They've put their blood on the line. Now finish the job and give them that liberation.
Amen.
All right.
Amen to that.
I want to thank you very much, Younes, for being with us. And people, we've put up your links. We could put up a few more times the links to your social media. Younes Sadaghiani.
Or in Farsi, we say Younes Sadaghiani.
Yes. See, I like that better. Sadaghiani.
Sadaghiani.
Okay, I like that. That's really good. You're awesome. It's really a pleasure to have you, and I'm really, really glad we connected. And let's stay connected, okay? I look forward to having you on again, and let's see what the days will bring. And
hopefully the next time we talk, it's going to be a free Iran. The strategic strikes would have happened, hopefully.
Amen. God bless you, Younes. Thank you very much. God bless you. Thank you so much for being with us. All right, that was really fun and special to bring Younes on, and a real Iranian and a real he's fighting for that. He's fighting for liberation. He's fighting for liberty. For God's sakes, liberals. We're liberals because we want to liberate and give liberty. That's what liberalism is really about. And it's not about supporting tacitly the jihad against Israel. That's not liberalism.